Same time, same place. For this hour, Jasmine Cornell. We're covering a lot of stories here and streaming on TikTok and YouTube right now, and of course our Fox local app. But let's get into one of our top stories this morning. ICE agents have deployed to airports, guys, and we have been covering this since this weekend. Let me throw up a banner for you. They have arrived at Hartsfield-Jackson Airport to help manage growing security lines, according to officials. This stretched outside the terminal this morning. The ICE agents arrived just before 6 o'clock this morning. We know that they are at several airports across the country. The deployment follows an announcement from President Trump, who said the agents would be sent to assist TSA during the ongoing partial government shutdown. This move comes after the Senate failed to pass a bill over the weekend that would have funded the Department of Homeland Security, including TSA. Those agents there have been working without pay for several weeks now. Now, since the shutdown began at the end of January, again, travelers have seen wait times steadily increase, and it's partly because TSA agents are working without pay, and they are calling out sick and even quitting their jobs. On Sunday, just yesterday, security wait times in Atlanta peaked approximately at 3 hours. The Department of Homeland Security reports that 400 TSA agents have quit since the start of the shutdown, and again, thousands more are calling out sick. So this is a story that we have been following. We've been speaking with travelers who say they are very frustrated with the situation. We know that TSA agents have been speaking out as well, and community members have been coming together to help and support them. But again, ICE agents have been deployed to airports. We spoke to a reporter out in Houston this morning who said that she saw ICE agents there. And officials say they are there to help TSA agents. Again, their primary role is to assist with line management to help move passengers through the terminal more efficiently. This is according to officials. Those ICE agents are expected to report directly to TSA agents here. So we will continue to follow this story and let you know how long you can expect to see ICE agents at the airports if you plan to travel. Also, we'll let you know about TSA wait times too as we receive updates there. We do know that Hartsfield TSA wait times website no longer says how long it takes to get through security. So that's just something to keep in mind now. Instead, it simply tells passengers to get to the airport 4 hours early. Delta, American, and United Airlines is allowing passengers to check bags that early. However, Delta is the only airline that allows passengers to check bags up to 6 hours before scheduled takeoffs. So some things to keep in mind there as this DHS shutdown continues to impact airports right here across the country and right here in Atlanta. Let's go ahead and move forward. Chaos out at an airport there in New York City. At the tarmac of LaGuardia Airport. Again, that's in New York City. An Air Canada jet carrying more than 70 passengers crashed with a fire truck while landing at the airport, killing the pilot and co-pilot and injuring several others. We now know that more than 40 people have been sent to the hospital as a result of this crash. The FAA is investigating this deadly collision, again, happening at LaGuardia on Runway 4. And we're told that the truck was responding to a different incident at this time. The FAA has issued a ground stop at the airport, and coming up in several minutes here later this afternoon, but during the stream, we'll catch up with Fox News correspondent Caroline Elliott, who's been reporting live there, and we'll get to see what's happening on the ground live this afternoon. Guys, Fox 5 is covering many stories too as well, local stories happening. So let's go ahead and bring in Tanya Mendoza. She's our assignment manager, and she's in to talk about several stories that we're covering this morning, or excuse me, this afternoon here. First, Tanya, 2 people were killed in a late night shooting. So let's start there.
That's right. There was a violent shooting that occurred late Sunday night at around 11:20 p.m. near an apartment building on North Cliff Valley Way in Brookhaven. Two young men were killed. One was found deceased inside a car. The second was found in front of a building and later died at the hospital. Let's listen in to Lieutenant Carlos Nino from Brookhaven Police on what happened.
We're obviously checking for video surveillance, speaking to witnesses. With the unfortunate part about all this is because of the area where we are, there's a lot of, reluctance of certain witnesses that may want to cooperate with police, but we're trying to do everything we can to make sure that, we do have people come forth that may have information that could help us in this incident.
That's right, Jasmine. So they're looking for people to give them information regarding who the suspect in this shooting may be. We just showed you a little video there of a car that was towed off. Investigators towed that vehicle, and from what we could see, it had around 12 bullet holes. So that's what's happening out there. Hopefully we'll get more information on who the young men were. We have reporter Annie Mapp out there, along with photographer Michael Moore. They're gathering information, and we'll have the latest on that story a little later today. Jasmine?
We just heard from officials on this late night shooting at this apartment complex. Do we have any information on a potential suspect?
No, they're still searching for a suspect. And hopefully they'll get some leads later today. As you heard in that soundbite with Lieutenant Carlos Nino, he was saying that because of, the apartment complex in the area they're in, they're having a little trouble to get neighbors to cooperate. So hopefully somebody will come through. If they saw or heard anything suspicious last night, they'll contact the Brookhaven Police Department as soon as possible.
So I know guys in the comment section on social media, they're asking what's the name of this complex. We do know that it's on North Cliff Valley Way in Brookhaven. So do we have the exact name of that complex, Tanya?
Let me just take a peek in the file here that we have. Let's see if we have the exact one. It's a bunch of, the intersection is North Cliff Valley Way Northeast at Buford Highway. Does not appear that we have the exact name of the complex. I know that we were out there in the noon hour, and I'll get that from Annie. But we were asked to move back off from the area by the apartment complex. So that is what's happening out there. Hopefully, we'll get a little more details, and we'll let Annie do that since she's actually out in the field reporting on this today.
All right. Thanks, Tanya, for giving us an update here on this story, guys. So we are expecting more information from officials on this story, including a motive here for the shooting. Tanya, let's get into this story here that developed recently this morning. A crossing guard was hit by a car, and from what we know, the crossing guard is severely injured.
Okay, so this happened over in Peachtree City near Kendron Elementary. A crossing guard in his 70s was hit by a car while working Monday morning. The collision was severe. Reports indicate the guard was thrown approximately 10 feet by the force of the vehicle. That's what authorities told us. The victim was rushed to Grady with a significant head wound. His current condition has not been updated. I'm hoping to get that from Doug Evans, who was out on the scene all morning and where he was reporting live earlier. Hopefully he'll have a little more on what the crossing guard's condition is. We did get some sound with the Peachtree City Police Department. They were talking about how the area is really busy at that time. Let's listen into that.
Very busy. You've got, around sunrise time. It's just, kind of a bad mix for those kind of things. That's why we always encourage people exercise extreme caution. Please keep speeds low. Again, this is indicative that was the case, which is why we're dealing with injuries as opposed to something more egregious, hopefully in the long, grand scheme of things. But
okay, Jasmine, and one other thing that we still don't know answers on is no charges or citations have been announced at this time. I know Doug Evans will stay on top of this and give us an update later on today.
Yes, absolutely, Tanya. And you mentioned a head injury here. That's pretty scary. So, my thoughts are with that crossing guard there and hoping that he has a speedy recovery.
Yes, for sure.
Let's move forward, Tanya. An apartment building was destroyed in a fire, and I feel like we've been seeing a few of these recently, apartment buildings or garages being destroyed in fires.
That's right. Right now we have, well, overnight actually, we had a massive fire over at the park at Netherly Apartments on Buffington Road. I believe this was in the Union City area. We talked to several residents out there, but in particular, we talked to resident Dennis Lyons, who described a harrowing escape, having to drop his children from a balcony to save them after flames busted into his home. Let's listen to what Mr. Lyons has to say.
I started from nothing. I just got my life together, or whatever. I had collected item, everything. Just refurnished my house, everything. To lose all this. My kids have nothing. I have nothing. It's sad, man. It's really sad, bro. It's really sad.
Yeah, it's super sad interview there, Jasmine. I do want to say we have gotten some phone calls in the newsroom, people wanting to reach out to Mr. Lyons or to fire victims to help them. I encourage the viewers who have called to either call the Red Cross or the Union City Fire Department to get them some help. I do want to mention that the fire chief out on the scene said that they were hampered by low water pressure and a ruptured gas line at the scene that may have delayed things out there. The building is a total loss, leaving multiple families with nothing. Fortunately, no injuries were reported.
Tanya, glad to hear that no injuries were reported in this apartment building fire here. Thank you so much for joining us. We do have to get out to New York City. That's where we'll find Fox correspondent Caroline Elliott. She's been there covering that LaGuardia Airport plane collision. Thanks so much for joining us, Caroline. So, Caroline,
Jasmine, good to be with you. We know it's still. Sorry, Jasmine.
Go ahead, Caroline.
Yeah, still very early on in this investigation, Jasmine, but there's still a lot of questions on how and why this happened. We know that investigators are still on scene out here at LaGuardia Airport, which we'll also mention still shut down at this hour. We do know that there's still a lot of questions, though, surrounding that audio from air traffic control. We were able to review that audio earlier today, and in that audio you can hear the operator again saying stop, stop, stop right before that crash happened, and then moments later you could hear him saying, quote, I messed up. Again, all of this still under investigation, but a lot of people really pushing for answers after this deadly crash.
Truck 1 and company, Florida Delta. Frontier 4195 to stop there, please. Stop, 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 truck 1, stop, stop, stop. Stop, truck 1, stop. Stop, truck 1, stop.
And so again, that chilling audio you just listened to, all part of this ongoing investigation. We know that NTSB is on scene, as well as the FAA, Transportation Secretary as well, trying to get to the bottom of what happened out here last night. Jasmine.
Yes, Caroline, thank you so much for giving us an update here and providing that audio. That was my first time hearing it, so that's very scary and just disturbing to hear. One more question for you, or a couple of questions, if we can answer this in this short amount of time. When can we expect LaGuardia to open, and have you been able to speak to any passengers on the plane?
Yeah, Jasmine, so we do expect that ground stop could lift in the next hour. We heard from Port Authority officials earlier today, and they said that 2 p.m. is the earliest that ground stop would be lifted. And last we checked, some of those flights that were scheduled for 2 or 3 o'clock at this hour are still on time. So that's the latest we have on that. But to your point, yes, we were able to talk with some of those passengers who said that this was really a horrifying experience, and they're just glad that it wasn't even worse. Jasmine.
Caroline, thank you so much for joining our stream again today to talk about this devastating situation out of New York. Guys, again, just to recap a little bit, she is reporting there on that plane collision with a truck that happened out at the LaGuardia Airport there. And just some quick notes for you. It was a chaotic scene, more than 70 passengers on that plane that collided with a fire truck, and it killed the pilot and the co-pilot, sending also 40 people to the hospital. The FAA is investigating this situation, like she said, and as she just reported as well, there's a ground stop at the airport. We do expect that to be lifted pretty soon here around 2 p.m. Guys, your time is 1:15. When we come back, we'll have a lighter story about puppies. It's National Puppy Day, and we'll discuss how you can celebrate. Welcome back to Fox 5 News Live. I'm Jasmine Cornell here. A happy story that we're getting ready to tell. We've been telling so much devastating news the past several days here, especially today. But let's get into something more light. Today is National Puppy Day, and Canine Companions has launched the hashtag Puppy Nation Puppy Cam. And so it's streaming adorable 7-week-old puppies as they begin their journey to become trained service dogs for people with disabilities. So joining us now to talk about this and how these puppies will help people with disabilities is Director of the Puppy Program, James Dern. James, thanks for joining us. You have a cutie with you right now. So tell us about the puppies around you and what makes the Puppy Nation Puppy Cam so special.
Well, this is a litter of 7-week-old puppies who are going to start their journey to become future service dogs. And today is National Puppy Day, and we are celebrating all week with a puppy cam that you can tune into on our website, canine.org/puppycam.
And these pups are so cute. Do you have a name for the one you're holding?
Oh, this is Blossom. She is adorable. She's been hanging out with me all morning, and we've been, having a good time today celebrating National Puppy Day.
Oh, so sweet. So tell us, for a puppy like Blossom, what is the journey from puppy to service dog?
The puppies are going to be heading out next week to their volunteer puppy raisers. These are folks who open their hearts and their homes to these guys and give them all the early socialization and some of the training that they need to go on to be service dogs. And ow, it caught me.
Oh my goodness. So my next question for you, what are some of the tasks that the service dogs perform to help people?
Yeah, so they come into professional training when they're about 18 months old, and they'll learn up to about 45 different tasks. They will pick up dropped items and deliver them to their handlers. They will tug open doors. They will even alert somebody to a sound in their environment.
And why is the need growing for the service dogs?
Yeah, these guys, less than 1% of all people with a disability has a service dog. And with more awareness, people are understanding the benefits that these dogs can bring to their lives. So we really want to meet that need. We're going to be getting more puppies. We're producing more puppies. And that means more puppy raisers to get these guys socialized and to teach them all about the human world and what it takes to be a service dog.
Thanks so much for sharing, James. I have one last question for you. What are some ways people can get involved, especially with volunteering?
Yeah, absolutely. Please go to our website, canine.org. You can learn all about puppy raising there, and you can check out all of our webinars we have to learn about a volunteer role that suits you. These guys are going to be heading out, and you can even meet some of our puppy raisers and some puppies like these guys at our event in Atlanta this weekend, March 28th at Arc Coffee House from 9 a.m. to noon.
All right, James, thanks so much for joining us and bringing your furry friend here. You have a great rest of your day, and I hope many volunteers help you guys out. So thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, again, guys, that is James Dern there talking about this wonderful initiative they have with puppies. These puppies are going to go on to become, to help people with disabilities. So a great initiative here. Let's go ahead and talk about weather. It's been a nice couple of days here in the Atlanta area and honestly in several cities across Georgia. So let's go ahead and bring in our meteorologist, Jonathan Stacy. He has a look at your weather forecast.
Shaping up to be a warm and breezy start to the week. Tomorrow, though, decisively different in the way of cooler air coming in and clouds taking over, especially as we get deeper into the day. And as we go into the overnight hours going into Wednesday morning, there's a chance that a couple of those clouds may give way to a few passing showers. This dry streak continues, though, through the majority of today. You can see here, clouds will thicken up as we go throughout the afternoon into the evening hours, but they don't really stay with us through the overnight hours, but they're not totally dismissed at any point in time. Winds are going to be hustling today. In fact, I think that's a big factor in the forecast. Winds coming in out of the north and the west as a quiet cold front rushes through. The only thing that we really have that will be noticeable to you are those winds, and at times they could gust up to 20-25 miles an hour. Despite that, temperatures will manage to wander into the high 70s today. Check out these wind gusts as the front slips down to the south. You can see those winds will be rearing up even across the northern tier down into the metro area and eventually to the south and to the east. Speaking of the east, tomorrow is a northeasterly flow, and that will create a wedge effect, so some lower hanging clouds and winds will still be hustling in out of the north and the east, anywhere from 10 to 15 miles an hour with gusts topping some 25 miles an hour. This is first thing tomorrow, Tuesday that is. The winds will die down as the day grows on. As we head to bed Tuesday night going into Wednesday, our problems will be of a different variety, and that's for an opportunity for a few passing showers. That will not do anything to alleviate the pollen count, which surged beyond 6,000 today, placing it in the extremely high category. Pine, oak, mulberry, sweet gum, sycamore, grasses, and mugwort, the main issues for this time of the year. In terms of dousing the atmosphere to kind of make the pollen at least be put on pause, I don't see it happening. Our chances here are fairly low. Look at this. Maybe an opportunity for a passing shower tomorrow evening going into Wednesday morning. That's a pretty slight chance there, isolated to widely scattered at best. By Friday, we have a system that comes in. I think there's going to throw some storms around up to the north, but by the time it gets to us, I don't think it's going to be much at all. Now, we need to preserve Friday because Friday is opening day for the Braves, and we don't want anything that's going to delay the game. In terms of your rain chances and expectations here, there's not really much to see over the next 48 hours. There is an opportunity for rain, but sizable rain. It looks to be less than 1/10 of an inch for everybody across North Georgia. Check out your Fox 5 Storm Team 7-day forecast. We'll go with 78 today, and then we're going to turn down the temps for Tuesday and Wednesday on the backs of that northeasterly flow of wind. Thicker clouds, less sunshine, temperatures hovering in the low 60s for highs. We'll take it to the mid 60s Wednesday. That's still below average for this time of the year. And then the numbers just fly past the 70s for Thursday. We'll return to the 80s for Thursday and Friday. And then for the weekend, another cool down, but temperatures hovering around where they should be as we begin to close the month of March. Overall, the forecast fairly quiet and calm, but just a couple wrinkles in the way of gusty winds at times and some pockets of cooler air coming in intermittently throughout points in time through the week ahead. Have a great one.
All right, Jonathan, thank you for that update. Guys, your time is 1:25. When we return, we're checking on the stories that you guys are clicking on the most on our website, fox5atlanta.com, and we'll have details on those when we come back. Welcome back to Fox 5 News Live, guys. I know many of you are asking questions about that deadly runway collision out in New York City at the LaGuardia Airport. We have a live look for you at what's taking place right now. And so one of you asked in the comment section, how did the plane collide with the truck? We do know that the FAA is investigating this situation, but some details here, some additional details that I can give you about the situation. We know that the collision happened at on runway 4 at the LaGuardia Airport last night. The truck was responding to a different incident at the time. Officials are reviewing some data from the tracking site Flight Radar 24, and this shows the plane made contact with the truck while it was going around 24 miles per hour there. And the impact there caused severe damage to the front of the plane, which you can see on your screen right now. And that front of the plane seats about 76 passengers. Now, a key question for investigators here, it will be examining coordination of the airport's air traffic and ground traffic at the time of the crash. Again, you know, we still don't have a lot of answers here in the situation as the FAA continues to investigate the situation. But we do know a few details here, including information about the 2 pilots who died. And so the pilot and the co-pilot there, and dozens of people were sent to the hospital with injuries. So again, going back through this chaotic scene there at LaGuardia Airport in New York City last night. That Air Canada jet that you're seeing on your screen was carrying more than 70 passengers when it collided with a fire truck while landing at the airport. And again, 2 people were killed here, the pilot and the co-pilot, according to officials. 40 people sent to the hospital. And the FAA is investigating this deadly collision. It happened on runway 4. And again, the truck was responding to a different incident. The ground stop that's at the LaGuardia Airport is expected to be lifted in about 30 minutes here at 2 o'clock. So we'll see if they're on schedule with that. But again, the fire truck here was crossing the tarmac after being given permission to check on another plane, reporting an odor on board. And before the collision, an air traffic controller can be heard on airport communications frantically telling the fire truck to stop. So earlier today, we did hear a little bit of the communication there, the airport communications. But 20 minutes after that, the controller appears to blame himself, saying, quote, "We're dealing with an emergency. I messed up." So, again, don't have much information on what led up to this instance, but I'm pretty sure as the FAA continues to investigate the situation, we'll have more details. Again, in this deadly collision, the truck was responding to a different incident there before it collided with this Air Canada jet. So I'll try to answer some more of your questions to the best of my ability and bring up some notes on the situation and share what I can provide. But for now, let's move on to a different story here, and we can come back a little later to the runway collision out there in New York City at the LaGuardia Airport. Let's talk about the search for Nancy Guthrie. So we know that officials have been searching for her for months now. She's the mother of Today's Show host Savannah Guthrie. Nancy Guthrie has been missing for 7 weeks, guys. She's 84 years old. She disappeared from her home outside of Tucson on January 31st. Authorities believe she was taken against her will, and now her family is desperately asking the community for renewed attention to this case. And I can't imagine being in her family's shoes. This is a scary situation, and it's so important to keep saying her name in hopes that somebody will come forward with information. So the family posted a message on social media urging folks to look at their security camera footage, journal notes, text messages, and think about any conversations that could possibly help them find Nancy Guthrie. They also listed some key dates in their message saying, quote, "It's possible a member of this community has information that they do not even realize is significant. We hope people search their memories, especially around the key timelines of January 31st, the early morning hours of February 1st, as well as the late evening of January 11th. And here are some details on those specific dates I just gave you. Again, the evening of January 31st was the last time Nancy Guthrie was seen alive. As for February 1st, she was reported missing in the early morning hours of that day. And then Fox News Digital reports that it's impossible on January 11th. It might be connected to past revelations related to the masked person we've seen on security camera footage on Nancy Guthrie's doorstep. Savannah Guthrie has shared multiple messages here since the disappearance of her mom. And last month, when her mom had been missing for about 24 days, she said, quote, "Our mom was taken from the dark night. Our mom was taken from the dark of night from her bed, and every hour and minute and second and every long night has been agony since then, of worrying about her and her aching, and most of all, just missing her." Guthrie's family is offering a reward of up to $1 million for any information that leads to her recovery. And again, it's so important that we keep saying her name. She has been missing for 7 weeks now, which is a very long time when it comes to a search for a missing person. So still hoping for some good news out of the situation here. All right, guys, your time is 1:34. Let's talk about what's trending on Fox Local. That's where we're streaming right now, and on fox5atlanta.com. We're going to bring in our Fox 5 digital content creator, Sam Daniel. He has a look at some crazy stories here. Sam, first of all, that parking garage fire, what?
I know, it's insane. And so I was here on Saturday, and we had reported on the apartment garage fire. This happened, it started around 8:30 Friday night. It happened at the Hendricks Apartments. And I'll go a little bit more in depth in a minute, but you see it on your screen. What ended up happening after the fire is that the garage fell in. So, like I said, 8:30 Friday night, firefighters start responding. This is in Brookhaven, so it's the DeKalb County Fire Department. And we spoke with their public information officer, Jason Daniels. So he said firefighters got there after the 8:30 call. He thinks that the fire had been going on for some time just because of how hot it was, how wide the blaze had spread. He said multiple cars were covered in fire by the time that they got there, and they actually had to trigger a second alarm. So that means that they had to call for another fire department within the DeKalb County, another fire unit, to come respond and help them put out the fire. So they worked for a while. They got this fire out, but then, according to him, quote, sometime later, end quote, because they weren't exactly sure of the time, they got the call that this garage had collapsed. And so now they're telling people they got to stay out of the garage. They can't get their cars. They can't go in for any reason. And even some of the people whose cars weren't involved in the fire on the third floor are now ruined because the garage has collapsed on them, according to the fire department. He says the cause of the fire is unknown, but he believes that the fire, the pure heat from the fire, is what caused this collapse. But they can't investigate the cause of the fire or the cause of the collapse right now because they have to bring in structural engineers to make sure that that garage is even safe enough for firefighters to go in and fire investigators to go in.
Crazy situation here, Sam. And you know, I actually first saw this on social media. I believe possibly a resident went and took pictures of this. And
so we asked Captain Jason Daniels about that, and he said it was a bad idea.
Yeah.
You don't want to go in there because you don't know what's going to happen. Just because the part you're standing on right then hasn't collapsed, that heat spread just like any other fire. So there's no telling if more damage could take place. He said, I've got to find this exact quote that he said because it was interesting to me. He said, you don't know at any point more of that garage could fall.
Yes. So guys, definitely, if you're ever in this situation, hopefully you're not, don't go get your car or, you know, try to move your car. This is like one of my worst nightmares here. This is so scary.
I don't even live in an apartment anymore, but it's like a new fear unlocked when I'm downtown. If somebody's car catches fire, am I never going to be able to get my car out because it collapses? I now think about that whenever I go to anywhere with a parking garage.
Wow. But glad no one was injured here.
Yes.
And, you know, we'll see if firefighters are able to get into the structure and see what caused the fire.
I know.
So, Sam, let's talk about this deadly double shooting. We now know that a teen was arrested in that shooting that ended the lives of 2 teens. So let's talk about this now.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a positive update in such a horrible story. It's the accused murderer has been arrested. It's a 14-year-old, so another teen's life that is ruined here, right? He has been arrested in the murders of 16-year-old Jamari Smar and 14-year-old Jeremiah Carter. The teen that is charged, his name is Keyshawn Hughes. We're waiting to get his mugshot. We have not received it yet. So the people you're seeing on your screen are Jamari and Jeremiah. According to the South Fulton Police, Hughes was arrested yesterday, so Sunday, after they got some tips about him, they found a car that he was in. They were able to track it and pull him over. Hughes was arrested and charged with 2 counts of aggravated assault, 2 counts of felony murder, possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, and commission of a firearm by a person under the age of 18. Now, an important thing that we have already learned here from prosecutors and police, They say that Keyshawn Hughes, even though he is 14 years old, he will be charged as an adult. So he faces the same penalties that anybody else does that commits a crime like this, even though he's 14 years old. Police said when this shooting happened about a week ago that they thought it could have stemmed from a prior dispute between the suspect and the two victims. They have not confirmed that as the motive, though. So we're hoping that we'll find out more as it happens. And the family, you're seeing video on your screen right now, actually got together yesterday. Before they even knew there was an arrest, this had been planned. And they got together, honored the two victims, released balloons in their honor. But they had some positive news that the suspect had been arrested. People at the scene were glad to say that somebody had been arrested, but they said still it's just a horrible incident, and they're having to deal with the loss of two people who had so much life ahead of them.
Absolutely. It's very sad to hear this story. 3 teens, lives changed. 2 of them died in the shooting. 1 arrested, being charged and tried as an adult, charged with felony murder here. I'm interested to learn more about the motive of this shooting, and hopefully we can get some more information on this. But
if what police are saying is true, I feel like pretty much every murder, I don't want to say every murder, but most murders that we have reported on and talked about this year, police are saying, well, it comes from some sort of fight.
Yeah.
And so at what point are we going to say, okay, fights don't need to end like this, especially when the victims are 16 and 14 years old. Who knows what they are even fighting about at that age? And it's just awful to see that they're losing their lives over it.
Absolutely, Sam. Thanks for giving us an update there on that story. Let's go ahead and move forward to something a little lighter, guys. MARTA has this new initiative, and they're trying to reach you. Sam, talk about this story here and what they're doing.
So it's kind of like a ride-sharing app, but for MARTA buses. They're calling it MARTA Reach. They've already launched it. They launched March 7th, and they're working to kind of redo MARTA. So they're moving this ahead of their new different types of MARTA maps that they're releasing, and some different steps they're taking to make MARTA more reachable. And how it works is you can download an app on your phone. You can also call and ask for it. And there are different geographic regions within the city. So like if you're going from Decatur to Marietta, not going to happen. But if you're staying in this same region that's kind of a nearby circle, you can find all the maps on their website. You're able to request that this van come pick you up. The van will get there within 30 minutes of your request, and then they'll take you where you need to go. And now right now this is free because they're testing it, but starting March 28th, they are going to start charging $2.50 for this. So as long as you're staying in that region, all you're paying is $2.50, and you can get free 4 transfers. So maybe you just need to run to the store really quick. If it's near your house, they'll come, they'll pick you up, they'll take you to the store, and then you can go back to your house for no extra charge. So it's a really great program. It's a lot cheaper than Lyft or Uber, but it's to help kind of expand the MARTA service that people are using right now. But they said they're specifically looking at places where MARTA buses aren't being fully utilized. That way this is more of like an on-demand. We're not wasting gas to try and get around.
Sounds good. Where MARTA isn't being utilized as much, and then it's free right now, $2.50. It's not expensive for a ride. Uber rides can cost you anywhere from like $20 to like $150 here in the city.
Yeah.
So it is a good initiative, and I do know it launched on March 7th, so not too long ago. But I'm wondering, are they going to pick up multiple passengers in that area, or are they just going to do one passenger at a time? How is that going to work?
So it seems like there is the chance that multiple people will get picked up at once, but unlike when you're thinking of Uber or Lyft, this is in one of their smaller buses.
Okay.
So there are multiple seats. It's not like you're going to be jammed in the back seat of a car with a random person you've never met before, but it all kind of depends on how many people are requesting this, when they're requesting it, because that's why they give you that 30-minute window. You know, they promise that you will be picked up in 30 minutes because they might be doing other rides in the area before they can come and pick you up.
Okay, it's very interesting here. A new program here out of MARTA just launched recently this month, and so maybe, you know, people out there, maybe you guys want to use this service. So thank you so much, Sam, for joining us. Guys, your time is 1:44. When we return, we'll have some more news stories for you. Guys, from global conflict to tax season, there are plenty of factors impacting how you think about your money right now. I know that there are. Fox 5's Joanne Feldman sat down with a financial expert named Ange Matthews to gain a better idea and to help you get some advice on navigating financial uncertainty. Let's take a listen.
Everybody's got a lot of questions, a lot of uncertainty, but before we kind of get into the details of what we need to be thinking about, what we need to know, what are you seeing as far as what Americans are thinking and feeling right now about their financial security, their spending habits and so forth?
I think people are nervous and also cautiously optimistic. I think in this environment, you know, with gas prices escalating, with a lot of uncertainty globally, a lot of people are nervous. But I always say that in the nervousness, in this economy, there are always opportunities. And so there are some people who are nervous, but I think people remember the other times when there was a lot of uncertainty, and there are some people who are looking for some good deals right now.
Right, and it's like if kind of thinking, well, I got through that, so I can get through this, right? You just have to make some of the right choices. And I want to bring it back to this idea of, you know, global conflict right now, the conflict in Iran. How does something like that impact everyday Americans financially?
I know it's easy to disconnect from what's happening in the world, but you'll see the impact in our, of course, gas prices. And with gas prices comes airline tickets. It comes how much groceries cost with traveling around. And so you're going to actually see it in your real budget, even though it seems far away.
Yeah, it just kind of snowballs, really, right? And, you know, we also in this see the volatility in the stock market. And I know that makes people nervous because people aren't sure what to do. Like, what choices should I be making? Should I be doing anything at all? What sort of advice do you have regarding that?
Here at the Happy Investor Method, we always advocate to not freak out when things seem to be going going wrong. A lot of people make gut reaction decisions, and they make a short-term crisis into a long-term crisis. So we don't want to do that. I think just building awareness and seeing that, hey, overall, the S&P 500 is up about 14% than it was just 1 year ago. So even though it might feel as if it's tumbling, it's not. It's almost as if it's a wave, and that's how the market goes. It rises and falls, but over time, it usually goes back up. So we advocate, don't freak out. It's actually a good moment to get some deals and to get things at a cheaper price, but don't freak out.
Okay, don't freak out. I do want to go on a tangent here, though. If you're somebody who might be nearing retirement, you feel like you don't have the time to kind of wait it out. I mean, is the advice different in that situation, or?
Well, it's actually pretty consistent, because if you're not going to retire within the next 6 months to 9 months to a year, then you can see a bit of a recovery usually. And so in a moment of crisis, a lot of people have knee-jerk reactions, and so does the market. But over time, it does even out. And so if you're retiring tomorrow, I completely understand that. But if you've got a couple of tomorrows, well, it's okay to call the 1-800 number on your brokerage account. It's okay to see and get informed and see historically what happened. So what happened during the pandemic, what happened in most recent crises, so that you can make a educated game plan.
Right, so be patient and be consistent.
Yes.
That's what it all comes down to. All right, you talk about this idea of a war economy mindset. What is that exactly?
Well, that is a mindset that you should have regardless of what happens in the world. And so right now, there is the economy, there's trouble overseas, and a lot of times it feels as if it's at your doorstep. But when you have the correct mindset, meaning that regardless, we're going to be okay. I have prepared for this moment. I have saved. You know, at the Happy Investor Method, we always tell our students that this is the opportunity that we've been looking for. And so there's a quote, it says, you know, when people are fearful, this is actually the time to be greedy. And Warren Buffett says that. And that's one of the reasons why he was able to catapult his wealth. And so we look for opportunities, and that is an investor mindset to have during a war economy. It's look for the opportunities, look for the glints.
Yeah, turn it in your favor in what way you can. All right, so you have 3 tips for smart money moves that people should be making right now. What are they?
And so one, continue to save. Continue to save your money and continue to invest your money. The reason why is if you can do a percentage every single month, it doesn't matter what's happening around you, you can always be consistent. The other thing that I want to let you know is to share your wins. A lot of people think that everything is doom and gloom, and it really isn't. For a lot of people, they're also prospering. Some of our clients, they're up 15-20% in their portfolios, and that's shocking because you really wouldn't know it unless they said it. So if you are doing well, let people know, spread the good news that this is not a time for panic. And lastly, what you want to do is get educated. We have a summit coming up called the Women in Wealth Summit. It's this week online. It's absolutely free. Get educated. I think the easiest thing you can do is put yourself in a container where people are asking good money questions and creating a plan. There's no reason not to have one.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the summit. I do want to take a turn here toward the tax part of this. Let's assume you're getting a tax refund in this environment, in this economy right now. What should you be doing with that money?
So this might not be the best time to remodel your kitchen.
Okay. Aw.
It's a good time to maybe hold on to that money, save it, and then also invest it. I know we think that our incomes are extremely stable and nothing can happen. But if you look around, you can see that something can happen. And before you know it, you might need that money in the future. So I always advocate, especially around tax time, it's like money you didn't anticipate having. And so don't necessarily take a big vacation. Of course, you can get something nice, just a little something nice, but really save it for a later day. Put it in a money market account, put it towards your retirement, put it towards education for your kids, because it's those lump sums that can turn into huge gains later.
So I should tell my daughter, who's getting her $6 back, not to spend it all in one place, right?
Not all in one place. $6 can turn into $12 tomorrow. It's okay.
There you go. I love it. All right, Ange, thank you so much for coming in. We appreciate all the good information.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, and for more financial advice from Ange, you can visit our website, fox5atlanta.com. Go to the Good Day tab, click on today's viewer information link. We'll include information about the Women and Wealth Summit, too.
I appreciate
all right,
it.
thank you.
All right, guys, that was Ange Matthews there giving some financial advice during this time of uncertainty. I know many people's pockets are being stretched thin right now with all that's happening in the world. Gas prices increasing, food prices increasing. So some good advice there from a financial expert. Ange Matthews is her name. Guys, let's talk about this pretty cool story here. A piece of American history landed in Atlanta today. The Freedom plane is carrying some very important documents, founding era documents. So it's carrying some history, guys. Our Chris Rosenthal is live at the Atlanta airport for this exhibit. Hey, Chris, how's it going out there?
Yeah, hey, the Freedom plane landed just a little bit earlier ago, and it had some fanfare. It had a water cannon salute, and of course, what was inside that Freedom plane was so significant. It was coming actually from Kansas City, where it was at the last stop. It's taking 8 stops across the country. Those documents, they are founding era documents of the United States from the 1700s and 1800s. I mean, some of them include, if you remember your history lessons here, the Treaty of Paris from 1783, Articles of Association, Senate markup of the Bill of Rights. This is sort of the original, sort of ideas here, the Bill of Rights and the First Amendment. These documents are heading over now to the Atlanta History Center, where they will be on display starting on Friday. They'll be there for 16 days for people to come see. They are free to come see, but you do have to register and get a ticket, get a time slot to come in, and I'm told those are there's a very high demand for that. But these documents were taken out of Washington, D.C., out of the archives to be shared across the country. Georgia, by the way, is the only one of the original 13 colonies where we get a chance to see these documents. Patrick Madden spoke with him earlier today. He is with the National Archives just about some of these documents, what makes them so significant. Let's take a listen.
Well, there's only 9 documents, and they are all very special. For me, there's a couple of home runs. There's a copy of the Declaration of Independence from 1823, where you can see all of the founders' signatures. So yes, John Hancock's name was that big. The other one that strikes me is the copy of the Bill of Rights, which is the last document. This is while Congress was debating what the Bill of Rights should be, what rights should there be included, and on this particular day, they are debating what becomes the First Amendment.
Yeah, and of course, this is significant. This is the 250th anniversary, 250th birthday of the United States, and the 100th birthday of the Atlanta History Center, where again, these documents will be on display starting March 27th. You'll have until April 2nd to go see them for free, but do go on their website, do sign up, get yourself a ticket to come see them. It should be a pretty special event. I mean, I look forward to. I'm a history buff. I look forward to seeing some of these myself. They actually have to time out how long these are on display because of the amount of light that they take. These are historic documents, historic papers. Really, really cool. The next stop, by the way, after Atlanta will be Los Angeles.
That is a pretty cool, Chris. Thanks for showing us this exhibit. It's a perfect way to get out and learn some history, especially for those that, like you, who love history. Pretty cool. And you said that the next stop is Los Angeles. How many cities is this tour going to visit?
Yeah, it's 8 cities in total.
Okay.
Across the country, and Atlanta is the second. It just flew in from Kansas City, so.
All right, that's pretty cool. 8 cities total. Guys, take a look at that exhibit. Chris, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you later. Your time now is 1:58 or 1:57. So don't go anywhere. Our 2 p.m. live stream starts in just a few minutes, and our Ariel Onstadt will give our latest updates on some stories that we've been following today.
Welcome in, everyone. I'm Ariel Onstadt. Thanks so much for being here at 2 o'clock. We've got a lot of things to get to. And very quickly, I want to tell you some developing news we just got into the newsroom. A bill banning cell phones in high schools here in the state of Georgia is now headed to Governor Kemp's desk for a signature. It just passed the Georgia Senate, and it would prohibit students from accessing their personal electronic devices during the school day. Keep in mind that a ban on school devices is already in effect for our state's elementary and middle school students, and teachers say they've seen improvements in focus, classroom behavior, and stress on teachers. So now this bill has covered high school students. Lawmakers took it up to debate whether or not it would be beneficial to make that extend to all of Georgia's schools. And now the bill's going to head to the governor's desk as he weighs whether to sign it into law. Likely it will pass. Our Deidre Dukes is going to keep us updated on this situation here coming up at 3 o'clock. Some concerns from parents are, as you might imagine, over emergencies. How would I reach my child in case something bad happened? And so that's something that we're going to discuss with Deidre as she covers this story more in depth here at 3 o'clock. But I'd like to switch gears here and continue along with some big stories we're following in the newsroom. One of the biggest stories involves ICE agents being deployed to Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport. Our Ray Urena is out at the airport now to give us an understanding as to what's going on. So Ray, can you tell me a little bit about what you're seeing at the airport today and what this means?
Yeah, Ariel, since we got here at about 10 o'clock this morning, we have seen several ICE and Homeland Security investigators walking in and out of the main checkpoint where we are standing, kind of monitoring the lines. And to this point, as far as the lines are concerned, these are some of the shortest that what we have seen all day. But I want to show you and everybody watching at home video we got not long ago of an example of what we have seen as federal agents arrived here at the airport. Sunday night, Atlanta Mayor Andre Dickens said in a statement that ICE and HSI will be responding to the airport to help with crowd control and lines. The mayor also said the deployment is not intended for immigration enforcement to occur. We have also seen them going in and out of the main checkpoint, but it does not appear that they are helping with checking people through security. Some travelers say they aren't sure if the federal presence is helping speed things along as the partial government shutdown continues.
If it's going to make things go faster, I'm happy about it, but I just wish they'd finish up with the government shutdown, fund TSA, and then we wouldn't have this bad timing.
Yeah, and as we come back out live, you can see some of those HSI and ERO agents standing at the top of the escalator above the main checkpoint here at Atlanta Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport. Now, TSA agents have been working without pay for about 38 days now since the partial government shutdown area. We also have learned from Atlanta police that they have also increased their resources and their presence here at the airport to help with lines and crowd control.
Ray, so it sounds like the ICE agents are really there to help with crowd control and organize maybe some of those long, chaotic lines like we've seen from those videos over the weekend and last week with this shutdown. But it doesn't sound like they're actually working as TSA agents, aka checking security screenings of bags and getting people through the actual TSA lines.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Ariel. And we have not been able to see any ICE or HSI agents going over there and checking through security themselves. It looks like that's going to be continuing the role of your normal TSA agents here at Hartsfield-Jackson. But it looks like ICE and HSI agents are just mainly found just walking around the terminal, checking on the lines, making sure the lines are in an orderly fashion. But for the most part, you can often find them just, standing near a post and just monitoring, just looking to see how the lines are doing, make sure some of the walkways are clear.
Ray, thanks for giving us a look there from the airport and letting us know where things stand. As it continues, a real quick message for anyone who's flying out today, tomorrow, whatever. TSA wait times on Atlanta's website, I was checking. It looks like they're not updating anymore. Rather, it just says get 4 hours early to the airport before your flight, which is crazy, but good to know that if you have a flight, they say now 4 hours early.
Yeah, and some of the travelers that we talked to today say they've gotten here even earlier than that, 6 hours. I talked to one lady, she had a flight at 4 o'clock. She got here at 10 o'clock this morning just in case anything were to happen with security. But I've also heard some mixed feelings from travelers about ICE being here. Some of them have questioned why are they here in the first place, but others seem to be like, hey, if they're helping make the lines a little faster, then that's good enough for me.
Ray, thank you so much for the update, letting us know where things stand at the airport. Always good to try to understand what's going on, especially over the chaos of the weekend. I know it ebbs and flows. We'll continue to check in with you as you get any new updates. As we continue here at 2 o'clock, I do want to let you guys know what the president was saying about deploying ICE to America's airports, because Atlanta really is the first one that these ICE agents have headed towards. And President Trump spoke on his way back before leaving Palm Beach. He announced that he was going to be sending ICE agents to America's airports as this funding impasse with the Department of Homeland Security drags on. But he also addressed ICE agents wearing masks and says that if ICE agent reinforcements are not enough, he will send the National Guard to help at airports. Take a listen.
Now, I'm a big believer that they should be able to wear masks when they go and hunt down, murderers, criminals, and others. But for purposes of the airport, I've requested that they take off the mask. I don't like it for the airport, and I believe they are willing to do that.
Mr. President, they wear masks not at the airport, but they need to do it when they're out in the country.
The people coming into the airport, typically speaking, aren't murderers, killers, drug dealers, etc. There may be a few of them, but there aren't many. They're people that want to come into the country, or that people want to leave the country, go into maybe their home country. So I didn't think it was an appropriate look for an airport. I think it's a very appropriate look when they're out on the street trying to find one of the 11,888 murderers that Sleepy Joe Biden led into our country. And I want to thank ICE because they stepped in so strongly. They'll do great. And if that's not enough, I'll bring in the National Guard. We're not going to have the Democrats destroy our country. ICE was my idea. First person I called was Tom Homan. I said, what do you think? He said, I think it's great. Then I saw today there was some masks on. I didn't think the masks were appropriate. I put out a statement and I asked them, would it be possible to take off the mask? Because they should wear a mask when they're dealing with the murderers and the thugs led into our country.
Will we see ICE arresting illegal migrants at airports?
Yeah, that's why the Democrats are going crazy, because they've allowed, by what they did, and hold up, we've put ICE, who are a very high level, they really are a high level group of people, and they love it because they're able to now arrest illegals as they come into the country. That's very fertile territory. But that's not why they're there. They're really there to help.
So you heard the president speak a little bit about how and why ICE is being deployed to America's airports. We do not see ICE agents yet really helping with the job of, say, a TSA agent with screening baggage and getting people through the security line, but we do see them assisting with the crowd control and the long lines that we have seen at Atlanta's airport. I'll let you know if that changes. We'll continue to keep you updated right here on Fox Local. But in the meantime, I'd like to continue talking about some other news we're following here in the newsroom. And one of those is that a 14-year-old boy has now been arrested in the shooting deaths of two teenagers from South Fulton. And that 14-year-old is going to be tried as an adult. So let's talk about what we know, because this double shooting happened in the Cooks Landing subdivision last week. Keyshawn Hughes is the one who's going to be tried as an adult. And you can see the two teens that were killed last week. And on the same day that 14-year-old was arrested and news broke that he would be tried as an adult, community members, family members, loved ones held a balloon release in the subdivision where the two victims were from. The arrest, we know, is the arrest happened on the same day, and the charges that this 14-year-old will be facing include felony murder, and his name is Keyshawn Hughes, like I mentioned. But this is something that we've continued to follow, because in addition to the counts of felony murder, we're also looking at aggravated assault, possession of a firearm during a commission of a crime, and possession of a firearm by a person under the age of 18. Authorities, like I mentioned, confirmed that Hughes is going to be prosecuted as an adult in connections with the death of 16-year-old Jamari Smar and 14-year-old Jeremiah Carter. A spokesperson for the police department says officers tracked a vehicle associated with Hughes to a church on Fairburn Road, and they saw him getting into a vehicle when the service ended, and he was arrested at a traffic stop afterward. So this is something that we'll continue to monitor. You can see video from this balloon release as community members continue to grieve the loss of those two teen boys that were killed last week. Another story I want to continue to keep you updated on involves a arrest. 9 people arrested in a large-scale narcotics operation out of College Park. So let's talk about why police were doing this, because College Park police served this along with multiple other agencies. You're taking a look at images there from that raid, but they say that it was a large-scale narcotics operation along Old National Highway. They recovered roughly 244 grams or 8.5 ounces of fentanyl with an estimated street value of $24,000. This was called Operation Shutdown, and it was trying to remove dangerous drugs from the streets. Officers say they made the total of 9 arrests in addition to seizing those drugs, and they also recovered cash and other illegal narcotics in that raid. So we'll keep you updated as this progresses. But in the meantime, let's talk about a story that I know a lot of you guys are talking about today. And it involves an elderly crossing guard who was tragically hit and severely hurt in all of this. Our Doug Evans has been following this story out of Peachtree City. Doug, horrible, horrible news. What can you tell us? How is that elderly guard doing this morning? Or this afternoon, I should say.
Hey, good afternoon, Ariel. Good afternoon, everyone. We've just learned his name from the Fayette County school system. He's David Spatz. He's known in the community as Mr. Dave, and he is a long-time crossing guard for the Fayette County School District. I understand that he works not only at Kedron Elementary School, but also works for McIntosh High School, just down the road here in Peachtree City. Here's what we can tell you happened this morning. He was at his normal spot on Kedron Road, just outside of the Kedron Elementary School, and you can imagine what kind of scene unfolded when he was struck and hit in the middle of the road, in the middle of his crosswalk there this morning as parents were arriving with their kids, elementary school age kids. There are subdivisions all around the school, so it's very walkable for families, and they do walk, or they take their golf carts. And so he was struck there in the middle of the road. The driver did stop, we're told, and cooperate with authorities. I talked to Peachtree City Police this morning. Here's what they had to say.
Investigating as to what exactly caused it. I do know that the driver of the vehicle that struck the crossing guard remained on scene and was completely cooperative throughout the investigation, which is still ongoing at this time.
That's just for people that don't know, that's a busy place.
Absolutely. Right there, located adjacent to Highway 74. Around that 7:20 time frame, there's a lot of traffic coming in and out of and around the school. It's very busy. You've got around sunrise time. It's just, kind of a bad mix for those kind of things. That's why we always encourage people exercise extreme caution. Please keep speeds low. Again, this is indicative that that was the case, which is why we're dealing with injuries as opposed to something more egregious, hopefully in the long, grand scheme of things. But, thoughts and prayers are with him on a quick recovery and the investigation play out from there to determine what the course of action is going to be.
Yeah, the same sentiments addressed by Principal Lindsay Boyle this afternoon in a letter that's going home with Kedron Elementary School students. She said the very same thing. Keep Mr. Spatz in your thoughts and prayers. Very well-known crossing guard, has worked in this community for many, many years. He's in his 70s, as I'm told that most of the crossing guards here in Fayette County are. In fact, I was watching a video produced by McIntosh High School about David Spatz and another crossing guard in which they said nearly all of the crossing guards in Fayette County are in their 70s. In fact, they have one who in February, at the time the video was shot, had just turned 91 years old. So this gentleman in his 70s, hit by a car this morning. I can tell you that he was thrown a bit, tragically. Struck his head and is at Grady Memorial Hospital right now being treated for that injury. The good news at the time that they were treating him there on the roadway is that they said he was conscious and alert.
Doug, no doubt crossing guards are truly the fabric of their communities, especially in a place that's, say, maybe not as big as Atlanta. Everyone knows everyone. Peachtree City's still here in the metro area, you know, on the outskirts. But it's interesting to see how people rally around each other. I'm sure that as this news continues to spread, the community is going to come together to try to support him. Really, really tragic situation, but I'm glad to hear that the driver who was involved stayed and answered questions, and it wasn't worse than it could have been, but ultimately I understand he's probably going to face a bit of a recovery.
Yeah, and listen, one of the things that he said in that video that was produced by McIntosh High School students is that he enjoys fly fishing. The other thing is he enjoys walking his dog. And he says he walks his dog 4 to 5 times a day.
Aww.
So I don't know what this community can do to help Mr. Dave walk his dog, but it seems to me we need to get working on a schedule of dog walkers here in the Peachtree City area to help him walk his dogs, because I think he's going to be off of his feet for some time to come.
Doug, I concur. Hopefully someone watching this, Peachtree City, maybe they can get that together for him. So Doug, as always, I appreciate your reporting. Thanks for bringing this to our attention. Let you get back to information gathering, and we'll see you again later this evening. So thanks so much. As we continue here at 2 o'clock, I know a big story we're all asking questions about is that deadly runway collision at LaGuardia Airport. And as of right now, LaGuardia is just reopening because of this crash. The NTSB is investigating, as well as other federal authorities. And let's talk about how this unfolded, because a plane and a fire truck collided, killing 2 people. New audio is now revealing the moments leading up to that incident. Investigators have really been on scene since early this morning, reviewing some of that audio from the air traffic control tower, including parts of the recording where the operator says, quote, "I messed up." You can hear the air traffic controller requesting the fire truck to stop moments before this crash. Take a listen to some of that audio.
Truck 1 and company, Florida Delta. Frontier 4195 to stop there, please. Stop, truck 1, stop. Stop, truck 1, stop. Stop, truck 1, stop.
That wasn't good to watch.
Yeah, I know, I was here. I tried to reach out to my staff, and we were dealing with an emergency earlier. I messed up.
No, man, you did the best you could.
As this unfolded last night, and the crash happened between an Air Canada Express jet and fire truck. It killed both of the pilots on board that Air Canada flight. And several moments later, you heard what appears to be the controller saying that he made a mistake. The Port Authority of New York and New Jersey say the Air Canada plane was coming in from Montreal to LaGuardia. And as that fire truck was traveling across the active runway where that Air Canada plane was set to land, they collided. Now, that fire truck was crossing that runway to respond to a separate issue involving another plane. More than 70 people were on board that Air Canada plane. 40 passengers and crew were rushed to the hospital, some with serious injuries. We know many have since been released, and the Port Authority employees in that fire truck were also hurt, but not critically. Take a listen to what a passenger on board that Air Canada flight describes.
Yeah, I was on 18A.
Can you explain how everything happened and how you felt?
Yeah, we were coming in pretty fast. It was like a regular flight, like always. But as we were arriving, we came down really hard, and then we stopped really quickly, and then in about 2 seconds later, we just had an absolute slam. Everybody was flying everywhere. I mean, the plane started veering off left and right, and there was. It was chaos. I mean, it didn't feel like there was anybody in control of anything. And but looking back on it, the pilot did the best thing he could. He hit the brakes as hard as he could, and he knew it was going to be at the cost of his own life.
And I see you have blood on your arm. Is this your blood or?
No, it's not my blood. There was so many people that banged their head and had concussions. And I mean, I remember looking behind me after we got off, and there was some guy with just the blood coming off of his face, and it was a lot of people got pretty hurt.
Well, forecasters say there was light rain, some fog and mist at the time of the crash, but really no serious red flags. This is going to be part of the investigation that the NTSB looks into. They're also really going to be examining staffing inside of air traffic control towers. As many of you know, air traffic control towers have suffered from staffing issues, and especially since the last government shutdown last year, where many left their jobs because they weren't being paid, levels have not really gotten back up to where they need to be. So this is going to be a component of that investigation. We know that 50% of flights out of LaGuardia were canceled today, and the airport just reopening so far this afternoon. So we'll continue to keep you updated as that investigation continues. In the meantime, I want to tell you what is happening with a Supreme Court case, because the Supreme Court actually heard arguments today over whether states can continue to count late arriving mail ballots for elections. This has been an issue targeted by President Trump. All 50 states do require ballots to be cast or postmarked on or before Election Day. However, 14 states here out of the 50 do have grace periods for receiving and counting regular mailed ballots, ranging from just a day to several weeks after the election. So after 2 hours of arguments, the court's conservative justices appeared mostly skeptical of Mississippi's defense of its 5-day grace period. A final ruling will almost certainly come by late June. That is early enough to govern the counting of the ballots for the 2026 midterm congressional elections, which is why we want to make sure the Supreme Court says it wants to get that ruling in ahead so states can prepare for the midterms. But in case you don't know about the backstory with this case, the Republican National Committee and the Libertarian Party of Mississippi brought this lawsuit against the Mississippi Secretary of State. They argue that grace periods for ballots violate federal law because Election Day statutes envision a single day for casting ballots. So the arguments on both sides, voting rights groups and local election officials are defending the rights of states to write their own voting rules. But the president has targeted this practice of counting the ballots after Election Day. So he and his allies have argued it delays results and leads to suspicions about vote tallies. It's part of the president's broader effort to increase what he calls voting security here with elections. And the implications are that if the court were to strike down the grace periods, it's going to leave some states and their voters adjusting with only a few months before the absentee ballots are sent out this fall. The ruling could also extend to military and overseas ballots, which are also allowed to arrive late in 29 different states. So no doubt this ruling from the Supreme Court is going to have bigger ramifications, and we'll continue to keep you updated right here. As we continue here at 2 o'clock, we want to bring you back a little closer to home and get a check of your weather forecast. Absolutely beautiful outside, wonderful spring days, but maybe the pollen is getting to you. I know it's getting to a lot of us. Meteorologist Jonathan Stacey is going to share what's ahead. Welcome back in, everyone. I'm Ariel Onstad. Thanks so much for being here on your Monday afternoon. No doubt it feels like a lovely spring day outside. Meteorologist Jonathan Stacey is going to let us know what the week has in store.
Shaping up to be a warm and breezy start to the week. Tomorrow, though, decisively different in the way of cooler air coming in and clouds taking over, especially as we get deeper to the day. And as we go into the overnight hours going into Wednesday morning, there's a chance that a couple of those clouds may give way to a few passing showers. This dry streak continues, though, through the majority of today. You can see here clouds will thicken up as we go throughout the afternoon into the evening hours, but they don't really stay with us through the overnight hours, but they're not totally dismissed at any point in time. Winds are going to be hustling today. In fact, I think that's a big factor in the forecast. Winds coming in out of the north and the west as a quiet cold front rushes through. The only thing that we really have that will be noticeable to you are those winds, and at times they could gust up to 20-25 miles an hour. Despite that, temperatures will manage to wander into the high 70s today. Check out these wind gusts as the front slips down to the south. You can see those winds will be rearing up even across the northern tier down into the metro area and eventually to the south and to the east. Speaking of the east, tomorrow is a northeasterly flow, and that will create a wedge effect, so some lower hanging clouds and winds will still be hustling in out of the north and the east, anywhere from 10 to 15 miles an hour, with gusts topping some 25 miles an hour. This is first thing tomorrow, Tuesday that is. The winds will die down as the day grows on. As we head to bed Tuesday night going into Wednesday, our problems will be of a different variety, and that's for an opportunity for a few passing showers. That will not do anything to alleviate the pollen count, which surged beyond 6,000 today, placing it in the extremely high category. Pine, oak, mulberry, sweet gum, sycamore, grasses, and mugwort, the main issues for this time of the year. In terms of dousing the atmosphere to kind of make the pollen at least be put on pause, I don't see it happening. Our chances here are fairly low. Look at this. Maybe an opportunity for a passing shower tomorrow evening going into Wednesday morning. That's a pretty slight chance there, isolated to widely scattered best. By Friday, we have a system that comes in. I think there's going to throw some storms around up to the north, but by the time it gets to us, I don't think it's going to be much at all. Now, we need to preserve Friday because Friday is opening day for the Braves, and we don't want anything that's going to delay the game. In terms of your rain chances and expectations here, there's not really much to see over the next 48 hours. There is an opportunity for rain, but sizable rain. It looks to be less than 1/10 of an inch for everybody across North Georgia. Check out your Fox 5 between 7-day forecast. We'll go with 78 today, and then we're going to turn down the temps for Tuesday and Wednesday on the backs of that northeasterly flow of wind. Thicker clouds, less sunshine, temperatures hovering in the low 60s for highs. We'll take it to the mid 60s Wednesday. That's still below average for this time of the year, and then the numbers just fly past the 70s for Thursday. We'll return to the 80s for Thursday and Friday, and then for the weekend another cool down, but temperatures hovering around where they should be as we begin to close the month of March. Overall, the forecast fairly quiet and calm, but just a couple of wrinkles in the way of gusty winds at times and some pockets of cooler air coming in intermittently throughout points in time through the week ahead. Have a great one.
Awesome, Jonathan. Thanks so much for letting us know what to expect. You guys, I know you're feeling the pain. I see some of you here in our TikTok chat. Stand outside too long and clothes will be pollen yellow. Yes, my car is definitely pollen yellow right now, and it's a dark color, so tells you what we're all experiencing, the raining of the pollen right now. As we continue here at 2 o'clock, I want to get you an update to the latest with the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. It's been some time since we've talked about this, and as of right now, Nancy Guthrie's family is actually releasing a new statement after her disappearance, and this is continuing as she has been missing now for 7 weeks. She is the mother of Today's Show co-host Savannah Guthrie, as many of you know, and the 84-year-old disappeared outside of her home in Tucson on January 31st. Authorities do believe she was taken against her will, and her family is asking the community for renewed attention to this case. They posted a message on social media urging you to look at security camera footage, journal notes, text messages, and to think about any conversation in retrospect that could possibly help them find their mom. They also listed some key dates in their message message saying it's possible a member of this community has information they do not even realize is significant. Search your memories, especially around the key timelines, like you just read on that statement, of January 31st, the early morning hours of February 1st, as well as the late evening of January 11th. Now, some details on those specific dates. The evening of January 31st is the last time that Nancy Guthrie was seen alive. As for February 1st, she was reported missing in the early morning hours of that day. And Fox News Digital reports it's possible the date of January 11th might be connected to past revelations related to the masked person seen on that security camera footage on Nancy Guthrie's doorstep. Now, Savannah Guthrie shared this message last month after her mother had been missing for 24 days. And she said, "Our mom was taken from the dark of night from her bed. Every hour, minute, and second of every long night has been agony since then, worrying about her and aching for her, and most of all, just missing her." Guthrie's family is offering a reward of up to $1 million for any information that leads to her recovery. So they posted this statement again to renew interest and vigilance in this case in hopes that someone knows something that can break it open. As we continue here at 2 o'clock, I want to let you know what's unfolding with OpenAI, because as we continue to talk about the boon of AI and what's happening with artificial intelligence as it continues to grow, one company, OpenAI, is reportedly set to expand its workforce as it tries to stave off the competition. A Financial Times report actually says that OpenAI, parent company of the artificial intelligence tool we may all use, ChatGPT, is going to ramp up hiring, nearly doubling its workforce. The report says OpenAI is going to hike its workforce to 8,000, up from its current 4,500 employees. According to the report, OpenAI is likely seeking to halt the momentum of its competitors like Anthropic, which has gained ground against OpenAI for business customers, as well as Google's rising AI ventures. The report says OpenAI is reportedly going to be hiring people for departments like product development, engineering, research, and sales. And the report also adds some employees are going to be hired as specialists as technical ambassadors, and are going to be tasked with helping businesses better utilize the company's AI tools. So helping them adjust to how to integrate artificial intelligence into their business. It really makes you think how much money OpenAI is truly making here, that they can look at doubling their workforce. So if any of you guys are tech savvy, you're looking for a job and have skill in these areas, this could be something that you look into. As we continue here at 2 o'clock, want to continue with another story that we're following out of Brookhaven. Want to get out to get you updated on a double shooting that happened and what we know so far with that. Straight ahead. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Ariel Onstad. Thanks so much for being here on your Monday afternoon. Real quick, a lot of you guys sounding off about our last story we just talked about with OpenAI doubling its workforce. A lot of you guys talking about how you're frustrated with AI. Christy actually says our customers hate AI. Interesting take, Christy. Curious what business you're in and what struggles your customers are facing. A lot of you guys, of course, feeling the heat with AI, and I know we are here too as we all look at how to integrate this and how to do it in a way that's ethical. A lot of questions surrounding that. So we'll continue to keep you updated here and discuss it as always. But let's switch gears and keep up with a story that we're following here in the Fox 5 Atlanta newsroom. And that is a double shooting that happened in Brookhaven. And this happened in an apartment complex, and our Annie Mapp is gathering the latest information. So Annie, great to see you. What are you learning this afternoon?
Ariel, good afternoon. That shooting happened at the Parktown North Apartments around 11:30 last night. Officers say they responded and found 2 Hispanic males who were suffering from gunshot wounds. They say one of those victims had already died. The second one was rushed to an area hospital where he died hours later. Officers spent hours on that scene just working to collect evidence and to see if they could find any witnesses who saw something of what could have happened in this situation. They say they have been unsuccessful as of now to locate any witnesses who saw anything in that shooting. They also, again, haven't made an arrest in these murders as well. We did speak to Lieutenant Carlos Nino here at the Brookhaven Police Department. He says trying to find information in this case will be challenging. Take a listen to what he said.
We believe there may be more involved because of the extent of the gunfire. But we're definitely going to need the public's help in identifying those other people that were involved. Earlier we spoke about how hesitant people in that area can be. All of that has to do with just the sentiment that's going on around ICE and how, you know, sometimes the local community believes that we work hand in hand, which is not always the case.
And again, police haven't identified the victims in this shooting, but they do tell me that they are in their early 20s and again are both Hispanic males. They do ask anyone with information to please come forward, as again, they need all the tips that they can get. Ariel.
Annie, a tragic story, and especially considering the police are trying to make the ask for more information if someone saw or heard anything to come forward. Do you know, based on what police were able to share with you, does it sound like this shooting was targeted? Are they suspecting that in their investigation? Do you know?
Yeah, police haven't released those details as of yet. We don't know a motive. We were able to speak to a neighbor who says, you know, they believe that the person involved in this case was possibly waiting on the people that were shot. But again, these are all things that we heard from neighbors, and none of that has been confirmed from police. They're still working, and again, the most important thing for them is to try to get people in that neighborhood to come forward so that they can find out more and possibly make an arrest in this case.
Annie, thanks so much for bringing this to our attention. Assuming if anyone has any information, they can call the Brookhaven Police Department.
Yes. You can call the Brookhaven Police Department if you don't feel comfortable, coming forward and revealing who you are. There are also ways to submit tips anonymously, such as through Crime Stoppers. I know we do have that information on our website.
Annie, thanks so much for your reporting. We'll see you again later this evening. I'll let you get back to information gathering. As we continue here at 2 o'clock, you guys, I want to let you know about a story we're following with MARTA because this is pretty unique. MARTA is debuting a new rideshare type technology with its new MARTA Reach service. So they're blending public transit here with ride sharing with this new MARTA Reach, and they're basically going to offer on-demand pickups in a dozen zones across Metro Atlanta. It's going to operate in 12 designated zones here in our city, and it's launching before for MARTA's new next-gen bus network overhaul. That's scheduled to go live on April 18th. But if you're a commuter, you can test this new MARTA Reach service for free until March 28th. That's when it's going to transition towards a standard $2.50 fare. But pretty unique that you could use MARTA in the way you might use, say, an Uber or a Lyft. Once a ride is requested, a MARTA Reach van is going to be dispatched to your location with a pickup window of 30 minutes or less. The service operates 18 hours a day, 7 days a week. And like I mentioned, try it out now during this introductory period because the fare is going to increase to $2.50 on March 28th, making it the same as a standard bus or rail trip. The fare does include 4 free transfers within a 3-hour window, so that is something to keep in mind if you would like to try it out here with MARTA. As we continue here at 2 o'clock, let's switch gears and talk about what is happening in the Middle East, because I want to let you know what is going on with Iran. President Trump seems to be offering a bit of an olive branch, and you can see with this, there's a bit of a question mark, and let's talk about why. Because the president has actually threatened attacks on Iran's power plants, but just hours before his deadline, the president now says the Iranians are talking with the United States government, and he's giving them a 5-day grace period. Operation Epic Fury is in its 4th week. American and Israeli airstrikes do still continue to pound targets in Iran, but today we heard the president offer that possible olive branch. He says that progress has been made in negotiations over the weekend because Iran has agreed not to have a nuclear weapon. He says he's now extending his deadline for Iran to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, writing on social media, quote, "I have instructed the Department of War to postpone any and all military strikes against Iranian power plants and energy infrastructure," end quote. Now, the president says those strikes are going to take place in 5 days if Iran does not back down. The 5-day delay also gives European allies some time to coordinate their own coalition to try to get the Strait of Hormuz back open. And one thing we've seen NATO say is that they think they're going to be able to get this done together, and it's already being planned. Meanwhile, Iran has kept up a steady stream of missile attacks against Israel and other neighbors. Israel has responded with missiles on storage facilities deep in the heart of Iran. Back home, Democrats on Capitol Hill have said that the president's strategy isn't working and they're pushing for the conflict to stop. Iranian officials are denying that the talks even happened, but the president says Iran should, quote, get better public relations people, because he says the talks did happen, and he says his administration is going to speak with Iran later today and this week. Take a listen to what the president had to say.
Well, they're going to have to get themselves better public relations people. We have had very, very strong talks. We'll see where they lead. We have major points of agreement. I would say almost all points of agreement. Perhaps that hasn't been conveyed. The communication, as you know, has been blown to pieces. They're unable to talk to each other. But we've had very strong talks. Mr. Witkoff and Mr. Kushner had them. They went, I would say, perfectly. I would say that if they carry through with that, it'll end that problem, that conflict, and I think it'll end it very, very substantially. We're going to get together today by probably phone, because it's very hard to find a country. It's very hard for them to get out, I guess. But we'll at some point very, very soon meet. We're doing a 5-day period. We'll see how that goes. And if it goes well, we're going to end up with settling this. Otherwise, we'll just keep bombing our little hearts out. We're looking for all of the things that we've been talking about. We want to see no nuclear bomb, no nuclear weapon, not even close to it, low key on the missiles. We want to see peace in the Middle East.
So that was the president speaking about the talks that happened between his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and the Iranian government. The president further says that Israel and the Middle East are going to be happy with the potential agreement that his administration and Iran discussed. So we'll continue to keep you updated there. But a little closer to home here in South America, or rather Central America, as we continue to look at the ongoing situation that has continued to happen in wake of the our government's takeover of Venezuela, in a sense. I want to let you know what's happening with Cuba because they're facing a second power outage, a nationwide blackout this week. They're slowly trying to get that power back on, but the electrical grid there in Cuba has collapsed and left millions in the dark. Experts say the island's aging grid, along with this U.S.-imposed oil blockage, is creating the energy crisis. We know that more than 10 million people do not have power, and it's affecting everything from cooking and refrigeration, food spoilage to reduced work hours, lack of water, and reports that some hospitals have had to cancel surgeries. The communist government in Cuba is battling with decaying infrastructure and further fuel shortages and a U.S.-imposed oil blockade. Cuba's energy minister has said that a total disconnection of the national electrical system happened Saturday. Protocols for restoration are being implemented, but Cuba's grid operator says electricity is gradually recovering, so they're not able to just get this back on quickly. Regional and national power outages have become relatively common over the past 2 years in Cuba because of breakdowns. So this isn't all due to the United States oil blockade, but it is a big factor in the situation because Cuba has been struggling with dwindling oil. And once the United States captured Venezuela's leader, Nicolas Maduro, it halted petroleum shipments that were critical from South America to Cuba. The Cuban government has also blamed the outages on a U.S. energy blockade after President Donald Trump tweeted that, or rather warned that any tariffs on any country that sells or provides oil to Cuba. So not only is Venezuela not providing oil, but also any other country, the president has said, could face tariffs if they were to supply Cuba as well. So the Trump administration is demanding that Cuba release political prisoners and move toward political and economic liberalization in order to receive those resources. So we're going to continue to keep you updated there. As we continue here at 2 o'clock, we want to keep you updated on some stories we're following here in the newsroom. Also, some founding documents here are headed to Atlanta. They're actually already here. Our Chris Rosenthal is going to show us where you can view these documents and why they've come to Atlanta. That's straight ahead. We'll be checking in with Chris here coming up next. That's straight ahead. Welcome back, guys. We want to get out to some breaking news just into our newsroom. I want to tell you about this fire that's happening. Take a look at the flames coming from this historic courthouse. Firefighters are on the scene. This is the historic Floyd County Courthouse. A Fox 5 viewer sent us this video. Just incredible seeing the stream of water coming from that ladder truck as firefighters try to tackle the blaze. We know this historic courthouse has been undergoing a renovation for several months, but we don't know how or why this fire got started. The Rome Fire Department confirms they do have crews on the scene, which we can now see with our own eyes. Skyfox 5 is on its way, and we hope to have live pictures coming up here within the 3 o'clock hour showing you what's unfolding. But this fire has erupted from the historic Floyd County Courthouse, and you can see there above the clock tower those flames and smoke pouring out, and firefighters are trying to take care of that. So we'll continue to keep you updated as we get new information from officials there on the ground, and we'll hope to have more for you here coming up at 3 o'clock. Let's continue along and transition to something that I teased just a little bit ago, which is you can view some of our nation's founding documents here in Atlanta. They're actually going on tour, and our Chris Rosenthal is going to show us how we can do that. Chris, I feel like this could be a national treasure moment. Like maybe, you know, we gotta guard the Declaration of Independence here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's all these documents are in good safekeeping. These are important historic documents that are normally kept in the National Archives. You'd have to go to Washington, D.C. to see them, but they are making a tour around the country. It is, of course, in honor of 250-year birthday of the United States this year, and so they're stopping at 8 different cities across the country. They were just in Kansas City, and now the second stop is here in Atlanta. Interestingly, Georgia is the only one of the original 13 colonies that these documents will be stopping at. They came in a little bit earlier this morning on what is the Freedom plane, a 737 that's taking these around the country. It came to Hartsfield-Jackson Airport. I think we have some video of it, and that plane was greeted with a water cannon salute, which is a very special, cool moment, and the documents were taken off of the aircraft by National Guardsmen and brought here to the Atlanta History Center. They'll be on display here from March 27th through April 12th. Free to see, but you do need to register to get your spot, get your time slot, and I'm told the demand is already really, really high. Of course, what are these documents? There's a whole variety of documents, articles of association, and an early engraving of the Declaration of Independence from 1823. The Treaty of Paris, you might remember that one from your history class. That was sort of the official recognition that the United States is a country, and also a sort of markup of the original Bill of Rights. Including the First Amendment. And I spoke with Patrick Madden, he's with the National Archives. He came in today just about some of these documents and what makes them so special. Let's take a listen.
Well, there's only 9 documents, and they are all very special. For me, there's a couple of home runs. There's a copy of the Declaration of Independence from 1823 where you can see all of the founders' signatures. So yes, John Hancock's name was that big. The other one that strikes me is the copy of the Bill of Rights, which is the last document. This is while Congress was debating what the Bill of Rights should be, what rights should there be included, and on this particular day, they are debating what becomes the First Amendment.
What do you hope when people come visit this exhibition, what do you hope people take away from it?
I think the greatest takeaway from this is the fact that we share this history. These documents are not political; they're about all of us and how the nation got formed. And so, what we want them to take away is really a chance of reflection about the ideals, where we all have come from, and how we're still working to become a more perfect union.
Absolutely, all those really good takeaways to have. Again, you can come see these documents here at the Atlanta History Center starting March 27th through April 12th. It is free, but again, you do have to register to get your spot. And then after that, they'll be getting on the Freedom plane and taken across the country to Los Angeles. That'll be the next and the third of the 8 stops that these documents are making across the country.
Back to you.
Chris, really wonderful that we can see this piece of history so close to home, having it come to us as opposed to, say, having to go to Washington, D.C. or some other place to view it. So good opportunity to go visit it while we can. Chris, I know we'll see you again here upcoming at 3 o'clock. Looking forward to it. So I'll let you get back to it and we'll see you then. As we continue here, you guys, I'm Ariel Onstadt. We're going to have more news and weather coming your way here at 3 o'clock with Tom Haynes. Stay tuned.
And welcome back, everyone, to Live Now from Fox. I'm your host, Mike Page, as we continue to roll on really this busy Monday afternoon, awaiting a major news conference out of New York. Soon be getting the update on the Air Canada collision at LaGuardia. You see they are setting up the podium for Secretary Duffy, for the New York Governor Kathy Hochul. This is a live look at the scene. Still, the investigation just in its early moments right now. So again, we'll be providing you all of these details and live feeds as soon as it gets going right here on Live Now from Fox. In the meantime, let's show you how the market's doing today. Up big time as 835 points in the green. We had session highs over 1,200 points today. This all coming on the news of President Trump's Truth Social saying that he is giving Iran a 5-day pause on strikes to Iran's energy sectors. This was the moment that really raised the pre-market because earlier in the morning, about 5 a.m. Eastern time, the markets were deep, deep red. But then this turned it all around and then some. We have President Trump speaking again. Let's go.
Thank you, Press. Thank you.
All right, just getting a little tail end there. Didn't speak long, but just leaving Graceland right there and as he wraps up his Memphis trip. Again, let's just read this out to you. This was the moment that everything switched early on and really shot the stock buying up. We saw oil prices plunge. This is what he said. I am pleased to report that the United States of America and the country of Iran have had, over the last 2 days, very good and productive conversations regarding a complete and total resolution of our hostilities in the Middle East. Based on the tenor and tone of this in-depth, detailed, and constructive conversations, which will continue throughout the week, I have instructed the Department of War to postpone any and all military
Good afternoon, everybody. We're here in our temporary space here on the 3 p.m. streaming hour on Fox Local. I'm your host, Tom Haynes. We were working out a couple of technical hiccups, but now we are situated, and we're certainly glad you're with us this afternoon. Thanks so much for being here. We begin with breaking news today. We got reports in Rome of a fire at the old courthouse that we want to show you video of now. Just really getting this in, and take a look at the situation there. That's where firefighters are on the scene of a fire at the historic Floyd County Courthouse. This is video from a Fox 5 viewer sent to us just about 20 minutes ago. You could see a large amount of smoke pouring from that structure. We've been hearing talk about possible renovations in that area, in that building. That is unconfirmed as of yet, but we're just trying to get to the bottom of what might have sparked this fire in the first place. We know the historic courthouse has been undergoing modifications, if you will. So that perhaps early speculation may point to the cause of that fire. I don't know exactly what did spark the flames, but again, fire crews are on the scene working to contain it. Sky Fox 5 en route. We also have a reporter working this story. And as soon as we get more information on the extent of the fire, the damage done to the building, and any possible injuries, we will, of course, bring it to you. Our other big story here at 3 o'clock, put those cell phones away, perhaps permanently. That is what students are being told. The Georgia legislature debating a bill that would officially ban high schoolers from having cellular devices. Fox 5 Deidre Dukes covering all things at the state capitol for us this afternoon. Particularly, Deidre, this bit of legislation. Tell us more.
Yeah, House Bill 1009 now headed to Governor Kemp's desk for his signature after passing out of the Senate by unanimous vote. All of the senators voting to approve this legislation this morning. Now, what this bill does is if it is signed by the governor, it will ban cell phone use in Georgia public high schools. Now, this comes after we saw similar legislation passed last year for K through 8, students in grades K through 8. And so if the governor does sign this bill into law, it means that as early as perhaps next fall, we could see a ban on all cell phone use for public high school students. Now, lawmakers saying that this is needed because students need to focus and that these phones are a distraction. Also, there's concern for students' well-being, saying that sometimes this cell phone use can impact students' mental health. And so they just say, you know, instead of kids focusing on texts from other students and social media, things of that nature, it's time to put these phones away so that students can once again simply focus on that daily classroom instruction without that distraction. We talked to one of the lawmakers who sponsored this legislation, and here's what he had to tell us today.
Today is a great day for Georgia. It's a great day for Georgia's students, teachers, and families. A very popular bill passed on a bipartisan basis, the cell phone free bill, going cell phone free in our high school classrooms. I'll tell you, incredibly life-changing, as this is going to help the mental health of our students. It's going to help our students' grades. It's going to help their test scores, and it's going to make our schools safer. There's going to be fewer fights, fewer discipline. This is a great, great win for our students and our classrooms. As much as Georgia invests in education, we are going to see that return on investment go even higher thanks to removing cell phones from our schools so that our children can learn and our teachers can teach.
So while senators did vote unanimously to pass this legislation, there was an amendment that failed that was brought up by one lawmaker, Senator Rashawn Kemp. He's a former educator, a former school principal. Now, he did push for an amendment to this bill that would have allowed students to use their phone during breaks, during lunch periods, because he argued unsuccessfully that high school students, of course, they are another level as compared to, say, K through 8, and that they may have different responsibilities, work responsibilities, some who have children, just different things to where they may need to have more access to their phones than, say, students in grades K through 8. But that effort did fail. That amendment was voted down, and so the bill does pass where public high school students, starting perhaps this fall, will no longer have access to their phones on campus. They say from bell to bell, but what it means really is from the start of the school day to the end of the school day, they would be required to put those phones up, Tom.
So, Deidre, you can imagine this is sparking debate. We're just watching on at least one of our social media platforms, TikTok, people weighing in. Everything from good, no more cell phones. Maybe they're going to start focusing on school. So one person in support, another person saying, my child will still have her phone in school. Y'all banning everything, that's not important, okay? So a lot of parents are concerned about not being able to communicate with their students when in school, which is something I'm sure legislators considered when this bill was moving through the State House. But any talk of reconciling sort of the feelings of parents on both sides here?
Well, the lawmakers that we heard from today say that during the various committee hearings that most of the parents and students, teachers they heard from, they said that over 90% were in favor of this legislation. As to those who are opposed to it, lawmakers said time and time again, look, we were all students once, you know, the day before cell phones, and we managed. We didn't have phones during the day, and we did just fine. But you do get some pushback from parents and also from some students who say, look, you know, it's different times. We did talk this afternoon, for instance, to some students and families whose students attended Appalachia High School, who lived through that, you know, horrific day when a gunman opened fire there on campus, a student, and killed students and teachers there. And they noted that you had a circumstance situation where some of the first calls that came to 911 that were made to 911 were made by students. And also you had students who said, look, we were able to call our parents, let them know what was going on. that something was happening on campus, or even say students who had parents who were at the school for some reason, perhaps working there at the school or had siblings at the school. They didn't know where they were. They, of course, are concerned. There's just so much going on. And they said having that phone was really a lifeline for them. On the other end, we had lawmakers who said, they should be listening to the teachers, the educators, the instructors when there's an emergency like that, that you have adults who are in control of the situation, who need to have all of the students' attention, and that they are responsible for contacting parents and the like to let them know, if something like that's occurring. So strong arguments on both sides, but it does seem that the overwhelming mood here, at least at the Capitol, and what lawmakers are saying they're hearing from teachers is that we've got to get control of these classrooms, and in doing so, a large part of that is getting these students to put those phones up so they can focus on what's being taught in class.
You can certainly empathize with educators, to try to educate students without distraction. One more quick question, maybe you know the answer, maybe you don't. So will kids not be allowed to show up at school at all with their device, or will they check it in to, say, an instructor or a school authority once they enter school grounds?
That's a good question, Tom. What we've seen, because of course there are already school districts that have implemented, school phone bans, things of that nature. Some have the kids put them in lockers at the beginning of the day. Some have them put them in special pouches where they don't have access to them. So it really is up to the district as far as how typically how they carry out this policy. They do have some flexibility as far as how they ensure that these phones are secure. They may just say, put them in your book bags and we don't want to see you pull them out. But the idea is now this bill, which, is expected to become law. We still have to see if the governor will sign off on it. But if it is signed into law, this would be a situation where the students would not, under Georgia law, be able to have those phones, have access to those phones during the school day. Now, how school districts do it, I'm sure that's up to them.
All right. Really good information, interesting legislation. We'll see what the reaction is out there, and once it gets to the governor's desk, what happens next. Deidre Dukes live for us at the state capitol this afternoon. Deidre, thanks. Well, from the state capitol to Atlanta City Hall. There's been a lot of talk about ICE recently, with their presence in the airport, to ICE detention facilities being built in certain municipalities. And no doubt city lawmakers here in Atlanta are weighing in. Let's get out to Fox 5's Angelique Proctor outside City Hall with the afternoon's new developments.
Well, good afternoon to you, Tom. It is great to see you. As you mentioned, federal ICE agents are out at Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport beginning today. And I got to tell you, there are some Atlanta City Council people that are concerned about that, and they want to make sure that the interaction between the ICE agents and Atlanta residents going through the airport, as well as guests who are here in the Atlanta Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport, are treated appropriately when it comes to ICE. And so not only are they talking about it, but one council member in particular, Councilman Antonio Lewis, has actually drawn up a resolution to address what he calls appropriate behavior by ICE agents. He says that he is concerned that ICE agents are not trained properly to operate with TSA, that they receive no training, and so he's concerned about what they're actually doing out at Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport. He also says that President Trump offered these ICE agents, but the city of Atlanta never asked for them. Take a listen.
The ICE agents have never been trained to work at an airport as glamorous and as beautiful and as intricate as the Atlanta airport. And the president has been recruiting these ICE agents all over America, offering them $100,000. And so think about people who just got their job last year, got paid $100,000, gets to wear a mask and hide themselves running around our airport. And with no training to do that, what are they going to do? I'm still trying to figure out, are they going to stand there? Because I could go and volunteer for that. We can, the city of Atlanta, we could handle that. What our senator asked President Trump to do is to pay the TSA workers. He actually introduced legislation to pay them that would be that wouldn't affect any of the funding that our president has going on.
Now, Councilman Lewis, as I mentioned, has sponsored a resolution. This resolution is actually asking Atlanta police to record interactions with ICE agents while at Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport. They want everything recorded, and not only recorded, but saved until President Trump gets out of office. Councilman Lewis says that he did some research to come up with this legislation because he didn't want any wild outbreaks here in the Atlanta area like we maybe have seen in some other cities. So he said he did a lot of national research and decided that the city of Chicago was handling ICE agents in a very proper manner. So he actually patterned his resolution that he has now introduced here at City Hall to that one that is in Chicago. And he says that it's working great there, and his hope is that it will work great here. Take a listen.
This resolution requests the chief of Atlanta Police Department to establish policies and procedures regarding documentation. We want to document accountability, public transparency, in connection with ICE. So anytime APD sees an ICE agent or is working with an ICE agent, we want them to do what they're already doing in Chicago, what they're already doing in other cities who've had these interactions already. So we're getting ahead of the ball. If you look at what Mayor Johnson did up in Chicago, he did this. And council does not have the authority to force the police department to do it. Only the mayor can. President Trump is getting more aggressive in our city as President Kemp's term ends. And I would also like to hear President Kemp get loud. Both of our state senators, this has to be a nonpartisan issue, similar to how when he was running for office and Donald Trump was against him. He has to now stand with the senators like he did then. He had people in this state, we had a split ticket. He won when Reverend Warnock, and when he's the person who won. And so part of the conversation we have to have right now is have good governance.
So as you can hear, Councilman Lewis would like for the state to get involved. He said they had waited hoping that there would be some state legislation, but once crossover day came and went, he realized the city of Atlanta would have to carry the ball by themselves, and so this resolution is what he has produced. He is not out there by himself, though. He has several council members who have signed on to the resolution, including Jason Dozier, Andrea Boone, Liliana Bakhtiari, Kelsey Bond, and Wayne Martin. Now that is 6 council members, and Tom, you might know it takes 8 council members to get anything passed. So if he's already at 6, he's got to find 2 more votes in order for this to pass on the floor of the Atlanta City Council. So this will be an issue that a lot of people will be watching. It's in the Public Safety Committee right now. He is expecting that it will pass out of there, and then the full council will take this up, we believe, after their spring break, which will be April 16th. So we'll be watching this issue for a while.
Yeah, you know, Angelique, and you know, I know the council is upset about ICE being in the airport, but they seem to be conflating ICE actions on the streets of Chicago and Minneapolis, which were controversial, no doubt. But you know, the agents in the airport were ordered, and they're not. If the council people have looked at any of the video of their facilitating passengers in the airport wearing masks in the first place, so that's not even an issue. And they're there to kind of move the process along. In other words, I think that there's a lot of people inside the airport who are upset. The lines are 3.5, 4 hours long. And TSA agents need to start getting paid, okay? Congress needs to come together to agree on funding, but I just don't understand, and I'm not presenting the question to you as much as the councilman, what the legislation is for, given the fact that they're not there the same way they were, in his words, in Chicago and wearing masks. I think that's, in my judgment, inflammatory language. And what did he mean when he said save the tapes for after the president leaves office? Like, what does that mean in this time of like frustration at the airports?
Well, he said what he wanted to do was to get in front of this issue and to keep all of the Atlanta interaction very calm and appropriate. And so he felt like with this particular resolution in place, with the ICE agents being recorded, that there would be no outbursts, there would be no violence. And so keep in mind, this resolution was written up before today. And the ICE agents just showed up here at Hartsfield-Jackson today, so I'm sure he had no idea, what they would be doing. He said that to me several times, or how they are conducting themselves. And you said they have been very orderly. I trust what you're saying, but this all was drawn up before now. And I think a lot of it was in reaction to what he was seeing across the country. And he said his attempt is just to protect people in Atlanta and keep this a very civil and appropriate situation.
But by the same token, and I understand, I mean, they've become a sort of a political lightning rod, and there's people who have strong feelings about the presence of ICE on both sides. So when you then introduce them into a busy airport, naturally, perhaps some people on the other side might want protections. I get it, but as you say, this is sort of being thought out as we go along here. So hopefully, everybody will be happy, and we'll get. At the bottom line, we'll get TSA workers back in the airports doing their jobs and getting paid as they should be. So Angelique, thanks so much. Appreciate it. As we continue, we're going to take a look. It is Monday afternoon. It's beautiful outside. We're going to take a look at the forecast and how it's going to unfold for the rest of the work week. It's clear out there, but there seems to be this layer of haze and pollen outside that we're dealing with. Maybe your allergies are kicking up right now. We're going to talk about that after the break. Welcome back. So happy you're streaming with us here for the 3 p.m. hour on Fox Local. I'm Tom Haines, your host, live in the Fox 5 Atlanta studios. It is Monday. We're kicking off the work week on a good note weather-wise after what was a spectacular weekend. We're just dealing with a whole lot of pollen out there, everything in that greenish, yellowish coating right now. The question is, how long is that going to last? And what about our pollen count? Here's meteorologist Jonathan Stacy.
Shaping up to be a warm and breezy start to the week. Tomorrow, though, decisively different in the way of cooler air coming in and clouds taking over, especially as we get deeper into the day. And as we go into the overnight hours going into Wednesday morning, there's a chance that a couple of those clouds may give way to a few passing showers. This dry streak continues, though, through the majority of today. You can see here clouds will thicken up as we go throughout the afternoon into the evening hours, but they don't really stay with us through the overnight hours, but they're not totally dismissed at any point in time. Winds are going to be hustling today. In fact, I think that's a big factor in the forecast. Winds coming in out of the north and the west as a quiet cold front rushes through. The only thing that we really have that will be noticeable to you are those winds, and at times they could gust up to 20-25 miles an hour. Despite that, temperatures will manage to wander into the high 70s today. Check out these wind gusts as the front slips down to the south. You can see those winds will be rearing up even across the northern tier down into the metro area and eventually to the south and to the east. Speaking of the east, tomorrow is a northeasterly flow, and that will create a wedge effect, so some lower hanging clouds and winds will still be hustling in out of the north and the east, anywhere from 10 to 15 miles an hour with gusts topping some 25 miles an hour. This is first thing tomorrow, Tuesday that is. The winds will die down as the day grows on. As we head to bed Tuesday night going into Wednesday, our problems will be of a different variety, and that's for an opportunity for a few passing showers. That will not do anything to alleviate the pollen count, which surged beyond 6,000 today, placing it in the extremely high category. Pine, oak, mulberry, sweet gum, sycamore, grasses, and mugwort, the main issues for this time of the year. In terms of dousing the atmosphere to kind of make the pollen at least be put on pause, I don't see it happening. Our chances here are fairly low. Look at this. Maybe an opportunity for a passing shower tomorrow evening going into Wednesday morning. That's a pretty slight chance there, isolated to widely scattered best. By Friday, we have a system that comes in. I think there's going to throw some storms around up to the north, but by the time it gets to us, I don't think it's going to be much at all. Now, we need to preserve Friday because Friday is opening day for the Braves, and we don't want anything that's going to delay the game. In terms of your rain chances and expectations here, there's not really much to see over the next 48 hours. There is an opportunity for rain, but sizable rain, it looks to be less than 1/10 of an inch for everybody across North Georgia. Check out your Fox 5 from 7-day forecast. We'll go with 78 today, and then we're going to turn down the temps for Tuesday and Wednesday on the backs of that northeasterly flow of wind. Thicker clouds, less sunshine, temperatures hovering in the low 60s for highs. We'll take it to the mid 60s Wednesday. That's still below average for this time of the year, and then the numbers just fly past the 70s for Thursday. We'll return to the 80s for Thursday and Friday, and then for the weekend another cool down, but temperatures hovering around where they should be as we begin to close the month of March. Overall, the forecast fairly quiet and calm, but just a couple wrinkles in the way of gusty winds at times and some pockets of cooler air coming in intermittently throughout points in time through the week ahead. Have a great one.
All right, Jonathan, you do the same. Want to get you out to a live news conference now about that fatal collision between an Air Canada commuter jet and a fire truck at LaGuardia Airport in New York. The Transportation Secretary, Sean Duffy, is speaking. Let's listen.
Because the aircraft and the fire truck are still in their positions from last night. So we are going to have reduced capacity for some time, but the airport is operational. Again, we'll come back and take your questions. But at this time, I want to turn it over to the FAA Administrator, Brian Bedford.
Thank you, Secretary Duffy. Again, I want to extend my deepest sympathies on behalf of the 44,000 men and women of the Federal Aviation Administration. We take our responsibilities quite seriously, managing the safety of the air traffic control system and the national airspace. So we're deeply moved by the tragedy of last night. Been in contact with the leadership teams of both Air Canada and Air Canada Jazz to express our sympathies, as well as my peer at Transport Canada. And of course, we are a supporting agency in the investigation now. The National Transportation Safety Board is running the investigation. So there are few facts we're going to be able to share with you today. What I can share with you, of course, the weather conditions last night were moderate winds out of 050 at 7 knots. We had broken ceilings at 9,000 feet. Visibility roughly 4 miles in raining conditions, so there was mist and fog here at the LaGuardia Airport last night. We had a situation with the United Airlines aircraft that had experienced an aborted takeoff. This is the reason why the fire and rescue crew had been deployed. Of course, the Air Canada flight was arriving on runway 4 when the incident took place at the Delta intersection. Again, I want to extend my sympathies to the families of the two pilots. These were two young men at the start of their careers, so it's an absolute tragedy, that we're sitting here, with their loss. So my heart really goes out to the families for sure. But we are committed to a full, transparent investigation. We will support the NTSB in any way possible. And again, we look forward to being able to take concrete actions to ensure something like this will never happen again. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Catherine.
All right. I presume we're moving on from this, but you've been listening to a news conference where the Transportation Secretary, Sean Duffy, we got a little bit of information from him, another aviation authority there. You see Mayor Mamdani standing on the right-hand side of your screen, New York City Mayor, talking about the encounter of a Canadian Airlines commuter jet last night at LaGuardia Airport just before midnight. There's been some video circulating online of that crash actually happening. It's a jarring video to watch as this plane was touching down on the runway and careened right into a fire truck that was responding, according to aviation officials, to a United Airlines flight that had aborted takeoff, was presumably already off the runway, but this sort of confluence of events happened which culminated in the collision of that commuter jet with the backside of that fire truck, resulting in the deaths of those two, as was characterized by the official there, young pilots just at the start of their careers, landing on an otherwise nice night at LaGuardia Airport. So we'll continue to follow the scene. They say that the wreckage is still where it is on the runway and that the airport is operating at limited capacity today in the midst, of course, of the TSA drama that's going down. Not a good situation in the tri-state area. We want to bring you back to that fire up in Rome at the old courthouse, we are told. I believe that we're getting some live pictures in of the situation there from Skyfox 5. Our helicopter's been over the situation for some time now. We're showing you the shots because they keep kind of going in and out. Of course, we're always erring on the side of trying to show you, but obviously we're having some interruption in the picture there. But as soon as we sort that out and get those pictures of the courthouse, which is completely engulfed in flames, the old courthouse, not the main one, we will bring it to you. Our coverage here continues in just a moment. Welcome back. Thanks so much for streaming with us this afternoon for the 3 p.m. hour on Fox Local. I'm Tom Haines with you in the Fox 5 studios. You know, a Tucker High School basketball player is back on the court after what is being characterized as a miracle recovery. We're talking about 6'7" sophomore Amari Brown playing again after a life-saving heart surgery. Let's get out to Fox 5's Kevin Stewart with his dramatic story at Arthur M. Blank Hospital there, Children's Hospital on North Druid Hills Road. Kevin?
Yeah, Tom, you know, A.J. Johnson is an incredible talent, and his journey is quite fascinating. You know, it wasn't just, 2 years ago, you know, he was playing ball, not feeling particularly well, and he's really pushing through stuff. You know, he's just kind of like, what's wrong with me? And it turns out that he was needing a new pacemaker. What happened here is that he had a big growth spurt. He went from about 5'7" to 6'1", and he had a pacemaker since he was 15 months old, and that pacemaker was not in his chest upper cavity because he was so young at the time. It was in his abdomen, and as he grew, he had this big growth spurt. The leads, the wires, they ripped apart, they broke, and so what they had to do is have a surgery for him. Now, of course, going back to the whole reason why he had a pacemaker in the first place was the fact that he and his twin brother Adarian were born with twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome, which put his little heart at extreme risk. They were sharing blood, and that's why he had to have a pacemaker. He's sharing his story now because he says he doesn't know how many other young athletes out there have a pacemaker. He said he used to cover his up because he was ashamed of it, but now he's willing to share his story because he wants to inspire folks. Take a listen.
Young people that's going through this, I would say it's just you being brave, just believe in your doctors, believe in them. They're going to take you through everything. There's nothing to be scared about.
Looking at them now, people were like, there's no way they weighed 2 pounds at birth. But they're a walking testament of medical advances, doctors in coordinated care, and God. And it's just amazing. It is absolutely amazing how much they've grown, and really they have a bond unlike any other. That is true. They are always together. But it's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, I believe I said 2 years ago the surgery took place. It was actually 4 years ago. So this was in the 9th grade. And actually, he had another surgery last year because the leads on the new pacemaker caused an infection. So he has definitely been a battler. And he says that he will continue to battle as he hopes to eventually play college basketball next year. Tom?
That comeback, and it's thanks to the geniuses in the hospital behind you there, Kevin, who kind of find these issues among young people, because they're quite different than older folks who might have a pacemaker for one reason or another. And you could argue that children's medical issues are oftentimes much more complex than what we suffer as adults.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's so interesting about this is just the journey. I mean, to think that he was 15 months old when he got this pacemaker. He and his twin brother, his mom, you know, she said that when she found out she had twins, she was like, wow, big surprise here. And then to find out that her kids, her babies, were in jeopardy at birth for a healthy life. And so she said that when she's had these procedures, she's been just stunned at how well they've gone, even though she wasn't surprised, but just the miraculous nature of science. She is a nurse by trade, so wow. She says this is just great news.
Great news indeed. We're certainly grateful for that. He looks great, he sounds great, and we're so happy for not only him, but his entire family. Kevin Stewart live at Arthur M. Blank Hospital there. Kevin, thanks. When we come back, National Treasures touchdown here in Atlanta. The historic Freedom Plane is here, and we're going to go out there live with Chris Rosenthal when we come back. Welcome back, everybody. You're watching the 3 p.m. streaming hour here on Fox Local. That's Chris Rosenthal live for us this afternoon, where some of America's most historic founding documents have touched down in Atlanta. Chris, what are we talking about here? We understand this is the Freedom plane bringing these treasured documents right to our own neck of the woods.
Yeah, absolutely. The Freedom plane, it's making its way across the country, 8 stops across the country, and Atlanta is the second one. It arrived here this morning from Missouri and arrived here in Atlanta at Hartsfield-Jackson Airport, carrying with it historic documents. Some of these documents you may have heard about in your history class. Articles of Association. There's the oaths, which date back to 1774. There's oaths of allegiance. That's when George Washington. These are the documents George Washington signed when he went into the military. There is the Treaty of Paris from 1783. Of course, that's a huge one there. These documents, they have not been on tour, if you will, around the country since 1976, but now they are here, here at the Atlanta History Center for people to come see from March 27th until April 12th. You can come see them for free. Now that plane touched down here, like I said, we'll go back to that earlier in the day, Hartsfield-Jackson Airport. And it received a warm welcome with the water cannons welcome, a water cannon salute, and then National Guardsmen very carefully took those documents off the plane, brought them here to the Atlanta History Center, where you can come view those documents starting Friday. It's really a huge honor for the Atlanta History Center. They said, you know, they were selected for this. The National Archives reached out to the History Center, offering them this opportunity here. You know, an interesting point of note. This is the only stop that Georgia is the only stop that is one of the original 13 colonies for these documents. But you know, they have to obviously care for these documents, have security for these documents. These documents can't, they can only be under light for so many hours of the day. So it's a big honor to be entrusted with them. I spoke earlier today with Patrick Madden, who's with the National Archives, just about some of these documents. They're all special, but just some of the ones that really stood out to him. Let's take a listen.
Well, there's only 9 documents, and they are all very special. For me, there's a couple of home runs. There's a copy of the Declaration of Independence from 1823, where you can see all of the founders' signatures. So yes, John Hancock's name was that big. The other one that strikes me is the copy of the Bill of Rights, which is the last document. This is while Congress was debating what the Bill of Rights should be, what rights should there be included, and on this particular day, they are debating what becomes the First Amendment.
What do you hope when people come visit this exhibition, what do you hope people take away from it?
I think the greatest takeaway from this is the fact that we share this history. These documents are not political; they're about all of us and how the nation got formed. And so, what we want them to take away is really a chance of reflection about the ideals, where we all have come from, and how we're still working to become a more perfect union.
And City Council President Marcy Collier Overstreet, she was here today to welcome those documents, as well as the Council General of France was here. Of course, you know, France was a big ally for the United States in the Revolutionary War, so and we were a big ally for them during World War II. So again, this is to celebrate 250-year birthday for the United States and the 100-year birthday for the Atlanta History Center. Again, if you want to come see these documents, March 27th, that's Friday. They'll be here until April 12th. The tickets, they are free, but you do have to go online, you do have to register to get them, and I'm told that they are Very high demand, selling out fast. In fact, most of the weekend tickets already gone, so they're really encouraging people who want to come see. If you can make it out on a weekday, that's going to be your best bet to find a time slot to come see these documents and really get an up-close look at history. You don't have to go to Washington. Normally you have to go to Washington, D.C. to see these in the National Archives, but they are here in Atlanta.
Yeah, and providing us a little slice of history firsthand. Getting to see documents like this is really thrilling because they were pivotal moments in our nation's history, Chris, when things could have gone one way or another. So they're stopping here in Atlanta for a few weeks, and then did I hear you say that they're kind of touring around the United States?
They are 8 stops across the country, and 8 stops across the country, and the next stop after this, the Freedom plane will come, that Boeing 737 will come and pick them up at the airport, and we'll take them off to Los Angeles. That'll be the next stop along the way when they're done here.
And you say tickets are free. I mean, tickets aren't free to get into the Atlanta History Center, so did they like separate these two exhibits from the main History Center and then where these exhibits are being shown?
The National Archives wanted this to be free, so they encourage that. I believe, don't quote me, but I believe you guys should get the free ticket and you can come and look. It's a time thing. When you come here, they give you a time where you can see these documents here, this exhibit. But then, while you're waiting for your time to show up, you can go look at the other exhibits here at the museum. So
Right.
and they've had a lot of help with being able to offer this offer this up for free as
All right.
well.
Such interesting stuff. As you said, real life history to take a look at right here in our own backyard. Chris Rosenthal there at the Atlanta History Center. Chris, thanks. Want to take a look at the markets now. The Dow Jones on fire today, and that's a good thing after 3 straight weeks of losses. The Dow in the past month has shed some 5,000 points because it touched 50,000, a record high not too long ago, and then the conflict with Iran began and oil prices went up and the markets were rattled. They took a huge hit. The Dow dropping at some points over 1,000 points. Now today the markets are back up, of course, on news that the president announced that discussions are underway with Iran and oil prices have dropped on that news. So whether an end to this conflict is at sight, well, we just have to wait and see. But the markets like what they're hearing today. The Dow Jones Industrial is up over 650 points in the remaining minutes of trading. Want to thank you so much for joining us here for the 3 p.m. streaming hour on Fox Local. I'm Tom Haines. Don't go anywhere. The news continues right here, right now.